All right, mic check. 1, 2. Looks like we're doing good. All right, guys, welcome to the weekly Whale Watch Rainbow Trends stream. Bit of a different one today. We're going to do an interview, so I'll run through the normal stuff. Per the usual, the stream is intended for educational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as financial advice. If you guys want to check out any of the reason why our charts look so crazy today, especially because Pixas look way crazier today, definitely check us out on the website. You can find out all the info there, our Git book and stuff like that. Read up on all this type of rainbow theory stuff. And we're going to be interviewing one of the OGs today, so I'm very, very excited. If you want to find out more about this guy right here, definitely go blow him up on Twitter because he's sometimes a little social shy on Twitter, but he's pretty active in the Discord. But we will... Let me see if I can show his screen, and then we'll check his mic, and then we'll get to this. Looks like we're good. Pixa, can we do a mic check?
Mic check.
Cool. Looks like we're even and good. And yeah, everything's peachy. All right, so we'll kick it off like normal. We normally stream here for about an hour on the normal streams and then go hang out in the Discord. Today's a little different. We're going to be doing an interview. If you guys don't know, Pix is one of our OGs from a long time ago. Met probably 2 years ago at this point and turned into pretty active Rainbow Trends trader. Pushed me a long ways as far as developing tools. And Pixa, I guess if you want to say hi, let's get to this.
Yeah, let's go. Get going. We got some volatility going on.
Volatility and a voice reveal. You guys didn't know what he sounded like, and believe it or not, we had mic problems getting this all set up, so very excited to get that resolved, because that was always the joke. He didn't have a mic.
Yeah, hopefully my mic stays working.
So let me know if that looks good on your guys' end. It looks good on my end, to be honest, and none of the frames aren't dropping. But as per the conditions, I wanted to check. We are able to have this stream. Price is above 100K.
Even at 101, almost 102.
I didn't think we would have crossed it last year. I thought it was going to be a 2025, but I was glad to be surprised.
Yeah, I thought we weren't going to be over 100 when this stream happened, so glad we're here. Could change though any minute now.
No. I will say this. I am slightly scared it could be a sell the news event on the Trump inauguration, especially with Ripple busting through like 325. I actually had some normie friends sending me photos of ledgers today asking how to open them because they have unlocked them and open them because they have a bunch of Ripple on it.
Yeah, Ripple's been wild. Yeah, I like a 4.2 on Ripple. That'd be nice for me.
The meme trades. The 69420 bot is somewhere in TradingView. It was banned, but it is there.
Hey, if it works, it works.
What's up, Esk? What's up, Phil? His mic? All right. I'll crank it up a little more. Thank you, Phil. So anyway, I guess I wanted to start. This is one thing I always kind of want to know. What does the name PixaV come from?
I don't even have an answer for that. I honestly don't know. It's just a name I created out of nowhere. There's no meaning behind it. There's no special story to it. It's just a name I created a while ago and roll with it.
Gotcha. So when did, I guess, you start trading crypto is a big question a lot of people have, or I guess, when did you first start trading, and then like when did you transition that into crypto?
I traded Forex years ago. Didn't like it as much, and then I started trading crypto, honestly not that long ago, but the end of 2021.
Okay. Have you typically always traded with charts, or?
Pretty much, yeah. My charts have evolved a lot over, I'd say, the last year and a half. They were a lot of trial and figuring out things that work and don't work and fucking up like most people do and going from there, right? But kind of dialed in this past year and doing well at it, I guess.
Question I have is, how did you ever find out about the Rainbow Trend stuff? people find about it in weird ways. And I
Yeah,
remember
so
you showing up one time, but it was a while before you started getting chatty and then started asking me like really intricate questions if I could recode or add certain aspects.
I was lurking for a while. I was in a whale group a while back, and one of the guys in the group was using these on his charts, and I was like looking at it like, what the hell is this? So I ignored it for a while, and I was like, okay, cool. And I saw him using it a few times, talking about it, and then eventually I just I popped in your Discord and I kind of checked it out. Didn't know anything about it when I started looking at it, and then as I started to use it and look at it, it made sense. Basically, I just 1 month I'm just like, all right, I'll try it out, and I tried it, and I'm like, all right, this actually works, and it's actually when I get dialed in on it, it actually makes a lot of sense. So it was that one guy who I don't even know if he trades anymore. I haven't kept in touch with him, but I should hit him up. But it was that one guy that just kind of came in with the charts and he was talking about it and tracking whales and whatnot. And I was like, all right, well, I'll take a look at this, and the rest was history.
Did you in Forex were you a multi-grid trader as well with this setup?
Um, I didn't trade as much in Forex. Traded less often, but also less pairs. Whereas crypto, it's I have a lot of charts going on. I'm heavily into alts. I'll trade Bitcoin and Ethereum regularly, but I'm heavy into alts, so I'll have a lot of charts open, kind of seeing what makes the most sense to trade at the time, what's got volatility.
So
And
for yes, very it's the I think it was you who was pushing pinks and cyans term as one of the key things, like constantly shorting blowouts on the alts.
yeah, I still do, but both ends though. It's not just shorting. It's on the longs. I'll when they start hitting red bands and they start going white, I'll be longing them just the same as shorting on the other side. But yeah, when they get there, depending on what the coin is, I mean, I'm ready to go on it depending if the setup's there.
So I'm definitely going to turn this into a bunch of clips later on with tutorials of like explaining how a multi-grid setup is. I think we have a 3.5 hour long interview with Mally. And Mally has multi-grids where he's looking at multi-time frames. This is one of the first I've seen that's looking at multiple assets, especially like the crypto total market cap. And even though I wrote the majority of these tools on here, this is a lot to look at, and it's somewhat confusing, and you've got a lot of stuff going on. Can you walk us through how you set up this multi-pane and then kind of layer through like what each tool is doing and how you're using it? Because the one thing I will point out to people, he's one of the few that actually uses our liquidation levels tools, and he tends to kill with it. It's not something I personally trade with a lot, but he's one of the ones that religiously uses it, and I was wanting to really highlight that.
Yeah, so this is kind of a good example of it right now with what's going on with Bitcoin pushing up here. You can see all these liquidation levels here that they're pushing into. So basically, this is my typical setup. The other tools that I use here, which are these support and resistance zones, learned from this guy who's really smart in crypto as well as trading, who trades basically similar setups to how I do. Not the same setup as far as the grid goes, but trading Tether totals 1, 2, and 3. I watch all three of them. But within the system, Bitcoin, ETH, Tether, and 2 or 3 of the totals, because they all sync up. I mean, the more you trade it, the more you see it. But you'll see that when things are getting hit on Bitcoin and ETH, they're typically getting hit on Tether at the same time. And if Bitcoin's leading, you'll be looking at like the totals 1. If alts are leading, you'll look at totals 3 or totals 2. And it's kind of just how I see things, right? I learned from him, which he's a great person to learn from as far as what to watch. But I've been doing it over a couple of years now, and you just kind of start to see things, and you start to see price action, and it's very repeatable a lot of the time too.
So do you typically stay in this time frame on these?
I'm very much a hybrid scalper swing trader. So I trade a lot of scalps, and then some of those scalps turn into swings. But then on more macro levels, I would be on higher time frames. But I trade both, and typically I'm on 15 minutes for entries and exits, and then I'll be on 4 hours for seeking entries for more swing stuff. So I'll show you here on my other chart here. Just one sec. So this is would be on the 4 hour. This would be like my typical more swing setups, I guess. So these are like weekly levels that I'd be looking at using the other system that I use, which is called True Algo. And basically you're looking at, you know, these boxes to hold on the weekly level, and you know, I'd be shorting up here and I'd be longing down here, and then I'd be looking, since we broke out here a little bit, I'd be looking up here somewhere, possibly up here if we can get it. But you typically I'll have Bitcoin and Tether leading the way, and this is what I'd be looking at. So you see here when we're hitting the resistance here on Bitcoin, where I'd be looking to short, you'd be hitting support here on Tether in an ideal situation where they'd be matching up, and then vice versa. You know, if you're looking on support to long here, you'd be looking at resistance on Tether, because they're actually opposite. So Tether's, you know, you'd be looking for support when you're looking at resistance up here, and you can also flip these if you want to, just invert it.
So do you
match up?
Do you do any TAs as far as like shapes on the dominance or the market caps? Or is it just strictly applying the indicators to it?
I do TA. I used to do more macro stuff. I used to pull more manual fibs, and I used to do a lot of that stuff. And honestly, this stuff works so well for me, I don't really need to do it. I'll still pull macro levels and look at more dailies and 3-day charts and weeklies and whatnot. But honestly, most of the time I don't look at it anymore. I'm able to read price action. I look for whale movements. I look for volume to come in on the split volume, and when I hit these levels, if they do what I want them to do, I'm shorting or I'm longing. It's pretty simple. I mean, your stop loss is down here, you know, on a long. You just get in when it wicks back up. You get taken on stop loss, not a big deal. And typically I'll have a short running at the same time. So I'd have a short going down here, and then I'll look for longs, get into a long, keep some of my short running to protect that stop loss. And when we start reversing, I'll start closing more of my short out, keep the long open.
You open those at the same time, or?
What do you mean?
You wind that back up a little bit. Like, walk me through like an entry where you're protecting.
So like this Bitcoin play here, right? I would have shorted somewhere in this area, whether it's up here right at the top or down here lower. You know, I could even get in down here when we lose this box. But on this case, I actually did short up here. So just the color of like the purple candle going up into where I want it to go. You get that nice RSI top, short here. So I'd be riding this down. I would take profits along the way. I would take profits heavier down here. And then once we lost this box here, I would be holding on for a little bit lower. And then this would still be open. I'd have taken profits out. And then I still got this support level here. This is where I'd be looking long. But I wouldn't close out fully on my short, because I'd basically be using it as protection. So if my stop gets hit and we just keep going down, I take that stop loss, but my short's still printing, right? So I'll leave that open and basically protect my stop. But once we reverse and I have that nice long going and we start breaking above, I think I was looking at about 93 on this level. Once we start getting above there, you know, I would have closed out most of my short and then just let my long run.
So you did short this, trying to prevent the stream and get us under 100K?
At this time, yes. Right. The other day when I was accused of it, no. But this one, definitely. I mean, I shorted at 107, 108 when I was talking in the Discord about it. Yeah, I mean, I'll short probably sometime soon if I like what I see, but we'll see what happens.
So there's a lot of people that have questions in regards to how you layer in and out of trades. When you're flying through these things like taking profits, do you do it in set intervals, 10% here, 20% there, or how do you run through that?
Typically, I'll just take it based on price action. I'm on the charts a lot, so I'll be watching price action levels. I won't have it set. Like I won't be like in this situation where you see here, you know, we got to 101.5. I won't have a take profit set there because I want to see what the price is going to do. If it's going to bust through there and keep going higher, I'm not going to take profit yet on my longs, right? So typically, I will just look for levels that I like. Like, you know, I took profits, not here, but previously when it was hitting other areas. If it reverses here, starts closing below its box, yeah, I'll take some more profits on my longs. But honestly, I'm in from like 86 right now, I think is my average, so I'm not too concerned about being too quick to get out. I will look for shorts though as I need to.
That's cool, especially 86. That's you caught the tip of that wick if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I was in from like 64, 69.
Oh,
When
okay.
we got up to 107 area, I started taking out pretty heavy. And then as we came back down to 89, 89.5, I added back on. So I use that to basically, just add back on to positions after I take profit and hopefully get a level that they don't take out or that I just have to relong, happens.
Now we're 102.
Yeah, I mean, this is the area I'd kind of be looking to see if we start breaking down or not. Ideally, I like 103.2, 103.8, 104, but we'll see what happens.
One thing I am worried about is next week being a sell the news event. So we'll see. Bitcoin hits like 120 on Monday. I might get a little skittish macro for a bit.
Popcat's starting to do stuff.
I'm seeing the alerts come through, sir.
Let's go. 64, 65 would be nice. Yeah, I don't know. That listing's got to come soon enough. I don't know why. I don't know what they're doing these days.
Armstrong is. I really didn't think the hippo would beat it, or Peanut, the squirrel, but when in Rome.
Yeah, Peanut was a good one the other day. I caught that just when the news was coming out, and we were in whites and like close to the red bands.
Can you pull that chart up and walk us through?
Yeah, one sec. I got this over here.
You got to realize I speak about 70% Pixa speak. We got a lot of people that have never seen this stuff.
This is where the news came out at about 48 when we were hitting RSI bottoms, whites on the low time frames, and we were in the red bands. And I saw that news drop right when it dropped. I saw, because I get alerts on my computer on my phone. I saw it drop, and I saw price hadn't really popped yet, and I think I got in around 48 or 49. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So I longed it, and just basically it was slow to get going, but once it did, it started moving. And you can see now how it had a pretty good sell-off here, but it's been pretty good. But like sometimes it'll pop right away, but I think Peanut was just so beat down and like nobody didn't have the hype going, so I think it took a little bit longer to get started.
That's what caught me off guard. Normally it's the listing hits and it's already pumped.
Yeah, this was a weird one, but it was an easy long for me because it was, the news dropped, nothing really happened, but I've seen so many of them to know that chances are it's gonna at least pump a decent amount. Maybe nothing crazy, but it did pump pretty good. I think we're probably at like 20-30% up since then.
When the Peanut owner sued, I was kind of surprised they kept it going, to be honest. That wasn't one I thought they would list, especially I really just still thought Popcat was going to get before it.
36% on it. Yeah, I honestly think they wouldn't list it, and then they listed it, and they still haven't listed Popcat, and I'm like, a little bitter, but all right, ETH is starting to move too. I do like ETH coming up to here. We'll see what happens. It's fun, we get volatility on this interview. I was a little worried it was going to be, Asia session and everything, nothing going on, but
my backup plan was to talk fishing for at least an hour.
Hey, we could do that. When everybody tunes out, we'll talk some fishing and boats.
All right, so can you do a single pane chart with the liquidity tools?
Yeah.
Because I really want to have you walk through that, and I'm going to use it definitely for study purposes.
Yeah, so a lot of times when I use the liquidity tool, it's on the lower time frames, which you'll see a lot of liquidations here, but they're important liquidations because of how I trade this other system. Because you'll see when they line up with levels that I'm looking at, they tend to go for those levels. So you see a lot on the short side. There's a lot of people shorting this, which they baited them in pretty good. You can see they just went sideways, keep hitting this, make it look like a good short, and then reverse straight through, start liquidating them. This would be a good spot for them to come to. They'd take enough liquidations, but we could hold here. We'll see what happens. But basically, yeah, like I'd be looking where the liquidations are, you know, in relation to the levels that I'm watching and how price action is going. You see on the long side, you know, there's a decent amount down here. They may go for that later on, but there's not a lot in this area. So to me, before this move happened, this is kind of the area I'd be looking more for, as opposed to heading down here and going for this, or down here, which is a pretty big drop.
Do you change those settings at all on that tool, or just run it out of the box?
No, I believe they're just standard. I may have messed with it at some point, but I think they're just standard. They worked. The main thing for me is like with all the Rainbows tools is like I'll mess with it, see what works with how I see price action. It's the same with the rainbow colors. I'll have the 4 hour dialed in a little bit different, and the lower time frame slightly different, just to basically how I see alts. Like I can show you. Just give me 1 sec. Let me pull up PopCat here. So let me full screen this. Yeah, so basically PopCat, like you'll see a lot of pinks and purples. Like this may look hot to most people, but the way I'm used to trading PopCat, like when these colors hit, that's when I know the volatility is on, and you know, it just works for the way I see the coins. Other people will have theirs dialed in different ways. You'll see other coins, they won't be printing pinks even though they're the same. So once they start to get the pinks, especially with PopCat, I'll tend to be a little more cautious about scaling out of my longs. But yeah, I just basically dial them in to what works for me and how I see these, because like I trade these coins all the time, right? So just to how I see these coins, and you know, if I like, especially on the lower time frame, you'll see them hit yellows and whites more often. If I'm seeing these hit yellows and whites in the levels I'm watching, then I'll tend to be more confident in taking these trades over something else that's not hitting yellows or whites.
Do you read into the liquidity box on the bottom right much? I know that's something like Crypto ISO tries to keep an eye on when they.
I mean, I do. If it's really starting to get out of whack, like if I'm seeing Bitcoin and everybody just being heavily short on the low time frames, for sure. But I think a lot of it is just I'll look for where liquidity is in relation to what levels I'm watching, and I'm more interested in where these liquidations are as opposed to shorts and long. I mean, the delta's basically even on this, so you don't really have an advantage there. But if you look, you know, on the low time frame, you're seeing all these liquidations here where you're not seeing that much down here. Mm-hmm. You know, they've already taken what they need to take down there before. So this is where I'd be like, and you see here, they're just chewing through it, right? Chewing through it here, sideways, shoots up, chewing through some more, gets some more people to short, bait them in, and then boom, go through those. So that's just, you know, it's just one of those extra confluence things. I know my charts, to whoever's watching this right now, probably hurting their eyes, and I apologize for that, but you know, you make good trades off it. It doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't bother me. But, you know, there's a lot going on. It's a very colorful chart, but it works, you know, at the end of the day. I'm starting to print real clusters now, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, at first I was like, oh man, this is hurting the eyes, but you know, at the end of the day, it works. So
that's what I tell everybody at first, because I have a lot of like people that will like try the rainbow trends, and they'll like put every single tool on at once, and I'm like, whoa. There's a reason it's not making sense, and I was like, hey, you gotta go pick the tools that like work for your style, because like I even have a rainbow theory like OG who's been with me for like over 3 years. He doesn't even use the rainbow colors. He's strictly running off pivots.
Yeah, I might know who that is. And you know, at the end of the day, it's really about what works for every trader, right? There's a lot of people, you know, there's tons of people in our group that have, you know, super good skills in different things that they use. It's all about having that edge. So whatever works for you and whatever tools that helps you get that edge, that's all that matters. Because we all trade different time frames, different setups, different coins. You know, it's just really about dialing into what works for you, right?
Oh yeah, the stuff you do makes sense to me, but it makes me very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, you know, I have days my eyes hurt too. So, but you know, when the P&L works, the P&L works, right? It's all that matters at the end of the day.
Hey, P&L works. Wipe my tears off with some money.
Paper trading only.
Paper.
No money here.
Yeah, this is an art stream. You skipped over something. The whale print clusters. If you guys don't know who's watching this, the reason we have the whale print clusters is because this is something Pixa picked up on and started asking me about it. So I'm going to bait you into walking into explaining whale prints and the whale print clusters, especially with the alerts firing off.
Yeah, so basically the whale clusters are when you get a bunch of whale prints within this time frame here, and then as they print, you get the cluster. And then typically, especially on altcoins, you'll start to see when that starts to happen on the lower levels, you'll start to see a coin start to pick up volatility. And it may take a day or two before it really starts to pop off. But that's when you want to start kind of paying attention to some of these altcoins that have been getting beat down. Here, that whale cluster could be close to the end of it. They're just because they're pushing up price pretty heavy. It's starting to get a bit hot. So, that's the type, they could go up here, they could slow down here. Sometimes you'll just see it push into levels. Let me see if I can pull up a 4-hour here. This was an interesting one. This wasn't a cluster, but this was that whale print that kind of I saw and started to take that long. And I think you picked up on that one too. I think you posted about it.
Yeah,
but,
I was watching there's a H4 pivot there, as well as the whale prints. When you went to lower time frames, there was more whale prints too. But typically, I normally don't see the whale print clusters on the H4. It's normally the
you won't usually. You'll see them on the lower time frames more often. So I see them a lot because I trade on the 15 a lot of the time. So you'll pick them up a little quicker. Like let me see what time this was. Okay.
I came into that one late. I saw the wick sweep, the whale print.
So funny enough, even on the lower time frames, we didn't really get a cluster on this, but we did. This technically, I would just say is a cluster.
Yeah.
This too, but you'll see sometimes here, these clusters, they'll just be to push up to a level to sell off, and that's why you got to kind of, when you're on the levels of support, where you're looking for bigger longs, that's when you start to pay attention to these whale prints. Up here, means the volatility is coming, but doesn't mean that they're not going to push it up to a level just to sell off and fill their shorts. Because if they're looking to short, and when I say they, I mean the whales, if they're looking to short, they're iceberging all the way up here, right? And then when they hit that level they want, they're just dropping the hammer. So you got to be careful. Like, people are thinking whale clusters are like, okay, let's go long here. When you're at 102, that's not the time to be looking for a long until, we break out and whatever, but hopefully you're already in longs at that point. I tend to not long when we start to get into purples and pinks on Bitcoin up at above 100, 102.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest things is we do not long pinks. Like that's not the thing to do. And just those back to the whale clusters, those are whale clusters on the other side. It's just TradingView limits me how far I can do that whale icon. So many candles back.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so like these, even if this would have shown up there, but even if it didn't show up, I would still say,
oh yeah,
I'd be looking at that to push up higher. But yeah, basically, this is kind of what you want as far as the setup goes. They're just pushing it down. You see all these bearish whale prints. They're pushing price down. This was actually, I think I posted about it in the group about this being a liquidation that I'm looking for. There was a guy on chain that has been liquidated 2 or 3 times already. And he had like a $5 or $6 million liquidation around 90K. So that could be his. It could be somewhere around that range anyways. But he got liquidated, and that's where they were pushing price down to, and then boom, reversed it back up. So this is kind of the setup you want to look at. But that's the whole thing. It's like you see all those bearish whale prints, they're pushing price down, and then eventually they're just going to fill all their orders, and then boom, reverse it. Takes time, but...
Yeah, look at the big volume spike too on the split long. That was the other thing that baited me into relonging one.
When you see a spike like that, like that's beautiful.
That's why I love.
And then the RSI bottom, that whale print.
That's why I love the Discord so much. Is crypto Twitter was melting the F down, and the OGs were just longing it.
Yeah, that's what you wait for, right? I wanted around 90 to 88 when I saw pushing into the pivot, getting all this stuff. You're probably not getting 88. Plus, I think a lot of crypto Twitter wanted 88, which means they're probably not going to get it. Tend to not. And also, you'll see lately, I think I was talking to you about this yesterday, actually. You'll see a lot of quick moves now. Like, when you're looking back, this doesn't look like a quick move. but to them getting out of this area and getting up here happened relatively quickly. As far as like sometimes it goes sideways for a while. They pushed out of this pretty quick, and then they came back and then bounced from there. But they kind of tried to get people to stay on the sidelines, in my opinion. Like they wanted to get up and out of here, get some more people shorting here,
they
and then
they
boom.
hit the areas people put stop losses. Like they wicked every logical stop loss area and then moved up.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so good at that. You know, they're just going to take people out. This is going to be an interesting area here when we come back up around here. We'll see what happens. My guess would be take that liquidity up here. I mean, even this pivot looks decent, and see from there. But we'll see what happens.
So can we back up a bit and go back to how you started with your system? Dave asked specifically, can you share the moment and the process when and how you began to build what became your exact system, a bit about your personal process, and then realizing what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, for sure. So I started in this space a while back through one of my buddies. No idea what I was doing, getting beat on most trades like most people in retail do. Joined a couple groups, met some really cool people, and then I met this one guy who actually created this system with one of his buddies, and he was just super smart, knows a ton of stuff in the space. Learned a lot from him, and then ended up starting to use this system. And I clicked with it from day one. You know, it's done really well for me. But there are nuances to it. The longer you use it, you know, you kind of figure out nuances and how to use it best. And then when I connected, so I used this first, and then when I connected Rainbow Tools and Chasing Whales, that was, you know, the two things that really gave me an edge, and I found something that works really well for me personally.
Because it wasn't like you seemed pretty locked in as soon as you started chatting about it publicly and posting charts. It didn't seem like you had too much trial and error.
Well, I mean, I think my trial and error was mostly before I found these tools. Just figuring out how not to trade. By the time I got to these tools, I guess I was already a little dialed in on charts. Like before I got these tools, I was trading, you know, more pulling my own fibs and trading macro levels, and you know, it's the typical stuff. And once I got locked in on these guys, I was locked in. You know, it worked for me and the way I see things. And I also like it's hard to explain, but when you see enough price action, like I got a lot of charts open, when you see enough price action, you've been doing it a long time, you start to get an idea for when price might reverse or where they might go, and you just start to see levels. That might take a while, but you know, for me, I get locked in on that stuff, and it's like I could be like, I'm not always right. You never will be always right, but as long as you have that advantage and your percentages make sense and your risk is managed, you know, you should be good at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's one of my people. Like, I just keep telling people, like, there's a period where your eyes have to sync to your system, and then once you, like, even if it looks noisy to outsiders, like, you can naturally look at this chart and within 2 seconds identify if you need to do anything, whether that's get long or protect or try to get out and stuff like that. Because, like, I can fly through rainbow charts, just it's like 2 seconds just scanning, and you can just, your mind will like eventually sync with your eyes.
Yeah, and you start to see things like I'll have 20 charts open, and I'll literally just look at them, and I'll be like, that chart looks like it's going to do something. Like XRP a few days ago. I'm like, that chart looks strong. When everything's, you know, getting sold off, and you know, you have strength in certain things, you start to see some whale prints. You know, you just kind of see, okay, that might be a good one to long, whereas another coin just doesn't look like it's going to be as strong. It's not always the case. Sometimes, you know, you'll long a coin and you'll be like, this thing's doing nothing. But you know, you kind of start to see things, especially setups and colors and whatnot.
Yeah, the other day you were telling me like Ripple was going to go to 589 based on your chart.
589, get out of here. I said 420, and I'll be a happy man.
Yeah. Oh, so $420. I read you.
No, hey, I would love that.
Forget
or
the market
10,000,
caps.
like TikTok's saying.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, if it goes to 489, I'll be very happy. But or 589, sorry, I'll be very happy. I don't know how that market cap will work, but hey,
We'll need new
We can all have
math.
hopes and dreams, I guess, right?
There's going to be a bunch of sold out Lamborghinis. I will say that.
I mean, maybe Peanut goes to $10 next. I don't know. You know, it's tough to say. Popcat to 10?
I would like that. But Popcat has, that's in the cards market cap number wise, but like,
Yeah, it could push a lot more than XRP with their coin. But, you know, we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it went to all-time high, and ETH has not. So that's all I got to say about that.
yeah.
Look at
That's,
ETH
of all
right
the
now.
things, the Ethereum Foundation hasn't sold money or sold Ethereum to put funds into something. Like, I don't know why they haven't donated to the inauguration like the Ripple guys have. But
Yeah,
whatever,
I mean,
Vitalik.
I don't know what ETH Foundation is doing other than selling. But yeah, so you'll see here. I don't know if they're done, but like you'll see these clusters. Like often you'll see this where they just push up into these boxes that I'm watching, and then they start to reverse price from there. We'll see if it starts breaking down a little bit more.
What a
Getting
lot
down
of people
here, but
don't realize is they'll push the market into their limit sales.
yeah, that's how they fill their orders, right?
It's nasty and
They'll-
dirty, but it's
Yeah,
what
I mean,
whales do.
it's what they can do, right? They'll be long from much lower. They'll push price up into their limit sells, and they'll short at the same time, close their longs, and then you have all that volume push price down, right? Meanwhile, a lot of retail people, unfortunately, they're like, we're over 100K, we're pushing up. They'll start to long around here. Hopefully not here, but they might long here. And then, you know, if price reverses, they're stuck.
Another thing I've always noticed you have open is like the daily opens and like the weeklies and stuff like that. Can you walk us through the seasonality that you pay attention to on those levels as far as like when the market's
Yeah,
open?
so mostly for me, my major ones that I watch are monthly opens, weekly opens, and yearly opens. I'll watch daily opens mostly to see because they'll go back to it and they'll actually typically wick it so that they take people's stops because a lot of people trade and they put their stops around daily open, so they'll wick that and then they'll reverse price or they'll keep coming down to these levels here. But yeah, monthly opens when they start to line up, especially on, you know, lower or higher levels where they're pushing price to, you'll often see, like, I'll call out a monthly open or a yearly open on ETH that I'm watching. Not in this case, but, you know, well, this case will play too, but, you know, when it's, say it's at 2,800 or something, they'll often run for that level. There's a lot of liquidity around there. So, you know, that's an area I'll watch. I also watch VWAPs, same thing, monthly, weekly, daily, you know, the whole price at a certain point. It's more confluence though. So, you know, if we were coming down to this level here and we had a weekly VWAP in here or a weekly open around here, it's just extra confluence for me to use to be like, we'll hold that level more often just because, you know, we have that extra confluence around there. Same with liquidations. I mean, you see this one just popped up here. You know, that's more reason for them to come down here and get it, right?
That's cool. Do you integrate the DXY into any of your charts or?
Not anymore. I used to watch DXY back in the day. It used to play more with crypto. Used to be more related. I find now I don't see an edge there personally. There may be other people using it that they have an edge on it or they see things on it. I just find this setup with especially with Tether, that's all that really matters to me. But I do watch indices and where price is kind of moving on those because crypto will follow it to a certain extent. So especially with news events, when that starts moving, you know, I pay attention to that stuff, but less so DXY.
Thank you. How are you liking the ultra wide? Is it up to 12 panels now?
I'm only using 2 panels on it, but it's great. Like I have 2 sets of charts. So I have one on the left that has 8 and the one on the right is what you guys are seeing. And then I have 2 other monitors. So I will never miss an alt. Well, that's not true. I'll miss an alt that I'm not watching. Like sometimes guys in the Discord will be talking about coins I've never heard of or something that's just picking up volume, and then I'll go check it out. But on the ones that I trade, I typically won't miss a setup because I'll see it. Like these are the coins that I typically trade down here. But yeah, the ultra wide's been great since you recommended it. I wasn't sure at first. I got it, and it's been great.
Yeah, I was always skeptical, and then DZ and Swo had them, and they were showing some of their setups with it, and I was like, you know what? With me doing streaming now, this makes more sense to just do one. But
Yeah, it's you could really use this as just your sole monitor, and you have so much space that it'd be great. The whole thing for me is why I have extra monitors is I have a lot of, like, once you start to get into 8 charts on a screen, they get pretty small. So if you had them all on, like if you split this up into 4 panels, you wouldn't really be able to see that much. And I don't recommend everybody having all these things open, but for me, the way I trade it works well.
do you typically focus on the Binance data?
Typically, yes, but I do like Bybit as well. There's just a lot of degens on there, and their data's been pretty decent too. But I'll pop back and forth. Typically, Bitcoin is on Binance for me, and then some of the alts will be on Bybit. But honestly, they all work. They're all pretty similar. Like these 2 exchanges, I wouldn't say, like, Coinbase has got volume too. Obviously, Coinbase is good. I've just found these ones work for me personally. But there's not, I would say you go to Binance, you're good. You go Coinbase, you're good. Bybit, good too.
Yeah, I've noticed that difference in some of the back testing as well. I tend to favor Binance for the Tether, and then Coinbase for the USD data.
Yeah, I mean, depends what you're watching too, right? Like for me, most of my focus is on Bitcoin mainly, and then the alts. So I'm just watching whichever exchanges have volume. Like Coinbase for me wouldn't be the one I would watch for alts, just because I'm not trading on Coinbase, and some of the pairs on Coinbase don't really matter to me. So, but like I said, Binance, Bybit, good there. Coinbase too.
So, what do you think of the ETFs in regards to like the market cap flows that you've monitored? Has that messed with it at all?
It's messed with price action a bit, but I don't know. I was watching it a lot before. I kind of stopped paying attention to it over the past few months because it played a lot when they first came out, with all the news coverage and whatnot. I find now, unless you're seeing some really drastic numbers, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. Like, people are buying, people are selling it. It's whatever happens in the ETFs doesn't seem to matter all that much currently. Like, that can change if you're starting to see big sell volumes, or huge buy volumes. But like, I haven't been monitoring it lately. I still get the alerts on my phone, so like, I'll see them. I'll be like, oh, it's a decent amount. But I used to pay more attention to them before.
Yeah, I was along the same ways for like the first 6 months. I was like locked in trying to see if it was going to mess with the data at all, and if like the charts were going to move much. And then you just keep seeing Ethereum volume inflows over and over and over, and then Ethereum doing nothing. It's like, maybe this is not.
Yeah, I found that too. They weren't quite connecting or giving any kind of edge. But I will say this: a lot of the moves and the volume start happening during London session, before we get to New York. Like, I'll be sleeping and I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, they push price up or push price down, and then New York will start to do their thing. But a lot of, like, 3 a.m. Eastern time, or between 3 and 6 a.m., you'll start to see a lot of buying and selling going on. I'm starting to get nicer sell off here. We may go below 100K on this stream. This will be cool.
Wrap it up.
And then the stream just has to end.
And we gotta go. We'll meet you guys back in the Discord for the round table.
We're at 99K. Stream's done. Let's see what happens. Does anybody have any questions? I don't have. Let me get this YouTube thing open here. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
Yeah, by all means. One question I have: can you walk us through this panel through some pivotal moments if you use like the replay of how to like you read like the dominance like flipping and telling you? Because it's a lot of people haven't seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, let me go 4 hour on these guys. Just 1 second.
bogging down the servers now.
Yeah. A lot of stuff going on here.
I remember when
yes.
TradingView was first displaying like 100K Bitcoin, like you could visibly see it acting slower because so many people were logging in.
Yeah, I mean they must have a lot of data, especially people like me who has all this stuff going on and all these things open. A lot of data going on, selling all these premium and what their new ultra or ultimate plans are. They got a lot of data being pushed through, right?
Oh yeah.
They must see your rainbow tools and be like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, so basically, let me get back on the right spot here. Yeah, it's getting slow on this thing. It's because streaming or whatnot. But yeah, basically on, I think I showed this before, but like when this
We lost your audio.
yeah, I clicked off for a second. Yeah, so basically when these start lining up, and I'd be on the lower time frame when this happens, I wouldn't be on the 4 hour, but it's easier to show zoomed out like this as far as streaming purposes go. But when they start pushing down here, I'd be looking for Tether to line up here and hold these boxes. And like I said, they're reversed, so you'd be support here, resistance here. But when these line up and you start to get the volume coming in and you get this reversal, like easier to show on this one, but when you start to get this split volume going in and popping up here and you get the RSI tools going on the lower time frame, this is where I'd be looking for these things to line up. You know, the totals are important, but those are more like I'll be looking at them to line up at the same time, but I really care more about ETH, Bitcoin, and Tether lining up. If totals line up too, that's great, but sometimes I'll just be watching like totals 3 to see if alts are kind of better to play and if alts are going to reverse.
That was one of the things I kind of picked up. It seemed like you were using the total market caps to see is it alt season or is it Bitcoin Ethereum season?
Yeah, and like if Bitcoin is leading, then I'd be looking more at totals. You know, if alts are starting to pick up, like today earlier, alts were really starting to pump, then I'd be looking at where, you know, they might reverse, right? Like here, basically, this resistance here. So like alts popped up. This is totals 3. So that's where I'd be looking for that to line up and reverse. But yeah, we're starting to get a decent reversal here. Just might have to manage a couple things on my end real quick. But yeah, that's basically like I'd be looking at, you know, resistance to line up here, support to line up on Tether, and then basically using the totals to see where I'd be looking at, especially if I'm playing alts. Like this would be an area where I'd start to look to short some alts. I do like the setup on Bitcoin better than the setup on ETH, but they're both decent. But then I'd be looking at alts and like where they're at, you know, living for decent. Like let me get one right here. 1 sec. I'm gonna pull this over. So this would be a setup that I would be looking at because these are my weak. You can't see it?
I see your 6 pane. Maybe capturing it differently.
It's on the screen. Okay, let me see if I pull it back.
No, I think Discord is grabbing your window.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't show that one then. I'll do it a different way.
If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Good.
Yeah. So basically, I'd be looking around at different pairs and see what lines up as far as boxes. Actually, this one might be better. Just give me 1 sec. This ARB setup was decent too, though. But this one basically, we're in the weekly box in my system, and then the daily box here. And this is kind of where, and you have a pivot here. So this is kind of where I'd be like, all right, this is one that I would personally like to short, just because I have more things lining up, and they also took the liquidity above here, and this would be kind of an area I'd short here, ride it down, hopefully the bottom of the box or down here. But that'd be what I'd be looking at, like the totals 3 lines up here. So I'd be looking at alts that I like the setups on, and also we pushed up into pinks here, which is cool. But I'd take the Bitcoin short, which I did, and it also, this would be one, I wasn't watching this one at the time because of the stream, but this would be another one that I'd be like, all right, this is a good setup for me. I'll take this one as a short. But you see now that we've been on the stream for a bit, basically they just, whales pushed us up into this level, sold off, shorted. Here we are.
Yeah, you basically called this live.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was cool that we got volatility while this was going on.
Oh, yeah.
I may have not managed a few things that I probably should have been managing, but it's all good. We'll get to that later. I did short while we were doing it, so it's cool. Let me go back to ETH here. But yeah, that's basically like what I'd be looking at. You know, this system with your system, match made in heaven for me at least. But you know, this is where I'd be longing Bitcoin. I was already in Bitcoin, but this is where I'd be longing. I'd actually probably long lower down here earlier in the day, but I'd ride it up here, start selling off into this. You know, especially when we push up here and we start reversing, that's when I'd be looking for shorts and also looking to get out of my longs, and taking profits and that kind of thing. But I'd still depending on where my entry was, I still keep some longs open. So if these shorts don't work out and they just keep pushing, I eat that stop loss, but my longs are still running and I don't care, right? I'm still profiting off the longs.
So do you use the market cap dominance for alts at all, or is it mainly just Bitcoin?
No, the market cap dominance is for everything. Oh, really? So yeah, so it's basically monitoring the health of the entire crypto market. So when you start getting into resistant areas, especially on a macro level, when you start seeing getting into resistant areas or support areas, that's where I'd be looking at longs on whatever setups I like the best. So similar to what I did here with ENA, you know, I'd be looking at, you know, if we're on the support side, same thing. I'd be scanning through my charts, see what I have the most confluence on, and I'd start to look at those. But this tether is basically determining the whole market, and that's why I pay so much attention to that. And shout out to the guy I learned that from, because I wasn't watching that before, so it was one of those things that just opened my eyes to it, and from there I've never not used it. I couldn't imagine trading crypto without having this open with Bitcoin and ETH.
Can you full screen the market cap chart?
Yeah. Let me pull up this one. So this is the market cap dominance here. And I mean, you can see how clean it is, you know, and it lines up. You got to remember, this is all of crypto, right? It's not just Bitcoin. Like obviously Bitcoin moves the most volume, but I mean, you know, when entire crypto market reverses from here, it's pretty damn clean that it lines up with ETH and Bitcoin. And it doesn't always, you know, sometimes you'll reverse at different times and different levels, but it usually matches up pretty good. I mean, the main thing, let me go back to ETH for a second here. Sometimes you'll see Bitcoin run and ETH hasn't really. Man, we're getting slow on this trading view here. Must be the stream. Usually it's pretty quick. But I just wanted to show one thing here with ETH and Bitcoin. Yeah, so let me go to the 4 hour here real quick. And 4 hour on Bitcoin. Yeah, so basically the other day when Bitcoin was pumping, ETH hadn't really pumped that much yet. It was kind of around here when Bitcoin was kind of breaking out. But this is that weekly level that I watch here for resistance. So often I'll wait for this to kind of get hit before I start to look for positions. It won't always get hit, but it was a nice 4 hour candle here. But it just, you know, it hadn't really broken out yet, and it was kind of just stalling here. So once that hit weekly resistance, I started to short some things, and then, you know, we had a decent drop into today. Nothing crazy, but pretty decent. But often, if these line up both at the same level, more confluence for me. But sometimes, ETH will be delayed. It likes to lag, and also sometimes it just won't do anything. But when they line up, it's extra confluence, right?
If not doing anything is starting to become a trend.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't want to say anything about the coin because people might, start blowing up my Twitter, which I never go on. But it's especially when we got to. I remember we were in the Discord talking about when we got to 4K and 4100, and people were like, "Oh, we're going all time high." Maybe not.
Yeah.
And then we dropped pretty hard from there, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was my planned TP, and I rode through it. I was very, very upset.
But yeah, I mean, it's okay. You're still in. I would have personally taken half out, but you're still in. It's fine.
Well, that's
But
cool.
if we get back there, I would take some profit.
Are you concerned that the Tether moving to South America may affect your signal?
I hope not. If it does, I'll be upset. I mean, I'll find something else, but
Paxos dominance.
Paxos. That was yeah. BUSD dominance.
There you go.
But totals will always work. I mean, that's not going to change because totals are totals. But like I think Tether's fine. There's been FUD about Tether forever. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, we'll see. I mean, it's been around. And plus with the US, I think if Tether went down, I mean, I don't think it will personally, but I could be wrong. But if it did, I think we got more problems because what does everybody do at that point? Do they all go into Bitcoin, or does Bitcoin crash hard and everything crashes and we figure out if USDC is the play? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think USDC.
I don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. But
I think USDC could pick it up, but that's a lot of
yeah,
exchanges don't really use it.
You remember that USDC depeg that we had that one weekend that everybody was freaking out?
I don't remember that one, but I remember the Tether.
You remember when the bank went down, and then USDC, they were saying because they were with the bank and like they didn't have enough money to cover, and everybody's freaking out. I think USDC went down to like 80 something cents, and a lot of whales I saw were buying it heavy because they're like, well, USDC's fine, and they made 20 cents on the dollar, and they did nothing basically, but held through a week. It was literally a weekend. It started crashing on the weekend, and by Monday it was fine.
I forgot which bank that was. I remember that.
Silver something, I think.
Yeah, I remember
but
the one I vividly remember was Tether depegging back in like 2017 or 18. It was just 90 cents for like a week straight, and
free money.
That was one of those ones where it's like, I'm pretty sure if Tether dies, crypto dies. Like I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a free.
Well, that's the thing. There's all these people. I know it's engagement farming and whatnot, but there's all these people that are always flooding Tether online, and it's like you don't want Tether to go down because if Tether's fucked, all your coins, especially alts, they're fucked.
Yeah.
You may have to beep all that out, but anyways. But yeah, basically, all your coins are going way down. Bitcoin, I don't know. Bitcoin's going to drop too. It might become a flight to safety at some point because people aren't going to want to, go to fiat right away, or they'll be scared about USDC too. And it's like, well, what do you do at that point? But everything's going to crash first, and then it's like money may flow into Bitcoin as a safe haven, or Helium or Litecoin.
Litecoin has the ETF application now. No, I totally agree with that, and I think at a minimum. And I would say a very strong minimum would be Bitcoin taking a pretty heavy haircut if USDT fell.
Yeah, and I also think market makers and whales are gonna play off that too and sell and drop heavy just because they know they can reload lower. So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't drop. I think everything would drop heavy. I hope it doesn't happen personally. I mean, I don't mind reloading lower. That's fine, but it's bad for the market, right?
Yeah. So can I back you up like 6 months ago when we were trading shop? And could you walk us through a pinks and cyans trade?
Yeah, I actually have some screenshots open so I can remember what ones were recent. Oh yeah, this is. Oh, you know what? Because you recommended this one was Aave. Let me see. this up here.
Yeah, those were always fun. I'd be messaging you like, "Hey, wake up, go do your thing on this," and then you're
Yeah,
like,
and that one
"I
took
can't
that one
short
took
it."
a while. That one took a while. Yeah, I remember I was talking about Discord a while. Oh man, hold on one second. Those aren't supposed to be there. Okay, so I think it was around here, if I remember correctly.
So a little intro to this to people watching. This is
Yeah,
one of
let's
the real key rainbow trade setups is like Bart Simpson trading, and one of those is essentially it's an evolution of a pinks and cyans, which is essentially saying the strongest color of candles pushing into the cyan machine learning bands, which it gets you into probably the 90% probability that the price is going to top out and reverse, or at least correct and take a breather. And this is one of the ones that 6 months ago when we were in the Bitcoin chop zone, Pixa was just going on leverage degen P&L runs. And I wanted to walk through this because this one he got really nasty with trading and shorting these pumps.
Yeah, so basically, you brought this one to my attention. I wasn't watching it. I stopped trading it after a while back when it wasn't doing anything. But yeah, you brought this up to me in chat, and I took a look at it, and I think I got in probably around here, around this area here, and I just waited it out. I think I may have added back on at some point here as well. But basically went sideways into once it hits these bands, once you start seeing this RSI top and colors rotating, that's when I get interested. You also had these pivots up here at this point, which was cool. But you see the colors starting to rotate and weaken. This is kind of the area that I was getting in on, and I think I forget who it was in the Discord that we were chatting about it too. He got in on it. Yeah, basically just took a while to bleed out, but once it did, you just started dropping pretty heavily. I think my first area I started taking profit was around here, and then I rode it down to here. And I actually think I longed back up when we got down to these whites. That was a big drop actually down here. But sometimes it's just, yeah, and it happens a lot, especially with alts, where they'll, here we go, we got this up here. Just come all the way back down to where it started, and it's 30%-ish, 25 to 30%, depending on where you get in, and then do it all over again. You see it came right back up to basically where it all began here. And then you can take it back, but the damage has been done. It's not quite the same setup anymore at that point.
So
but that was a good one.
Can you zoom in on that Bart on the left and walk us through, hypothetically, this isn't an arch, the one on the far left, yeah. Hypothetically, this is still an arch stream. You're on a leveraged account with $1,000. How do you start layering in shorts on that hairline, expecting it to rotate, and where do you protect it, and how do you increase or decrease leverage?
So it's tough to say based on if you have $1,000 account and how much you're.
10,000.
Well, it does. It's how much risk you want to take on this specific trade. For me, when I'm trading, I'll have several trades going at once usually. So I can't say how much somebody would want to put into this trade, managing their own risk and whatnot. But I would start layering, often I'll look for 3 hits, especially when you start to get up to these bands. On the, if we get this third one, that's when I'd be starting to short it. We would have had a win there, which was half decent, but then you can see they came back up and took that liquidity. So chances are, I think I probably would have gotten in here, taken some profits. I probably would have got stopped out and just re-entered on these pivots, and then I wouldn't have been taken back out, which is what happened. I ended up riding it all the way down. But these are tough because especially when you're seeing pinks and you're seeing them keep pushing and filling their orders, it's hard to sit in this trade. And, most people will just close it because it's not doing what they want to do, or they'll get stopped out and then they just won't re-enter. But for me, the setup was still there. They just kept going sideways, kept building it, and the colors were weakening around here, which makes it more attractive. But it's also what else is going on in the market too, right? So this isn't a one-off trade. I'd be looking at Bitcoin and ETH and what they're doing at the time, and that would affect how confident I am on this short. Depending on, Bitcoin was probably at 100 and something K here. I could pull it up and see, but that also plays into how confident I am in the trade. If everything's pumping and starting to look like it might reverse, then I'll look for these setups that are in the cyans and pinks, and I'll look at those to short ahead of like Bitcoin or ETH or something.
Now, is that something with risk adjustment? You start at like low leverage and pull your money back out by increasing the leverage, or how do you manage that?
I wish I had a simple answer of being like, I would do 5x leverage on this and then up the leverage later. Part of it is how my other trades are going and how much leverage I go on something. And part of it's where I see the stop loss and how easily I think it'll get hit. So it's tough to say. For most people, I'd say, risk whatever is safe for your account and use as much leverage as you're comfortable with. But like leverage is different for everybody. So for me, I may leverage a position and have 100x leverage, but my actual margin on the position would be equal to what somebody would put in at 5x. And to me, if I were to get stopped or liquidated on that, it would be such a small move that it would be the same as hitting a stop loss of the same amount, if that makes sense. So like, if you're playing with 10,000, 20,000, 2,000, 1,000, doesn't really matter. But like, if you're only risking 2% of your account or 2% on position, your leverage is relative to like, you could open a position for $100 at 100x, or you could open a position, at 10x for $1,000. It's going to be a similar thing, right? It's just basically how you want to play that. But if you want more padding and you're building into like a swing position, so like in this case, that would be more what I'd be doing, because I'd be looking at holding this longer through this. I would be doing lower leverage, higher margin, and then raising the leverage once the position goes in my favor. Somewhere around here, I'd be looking at most likely. And then you raise leverage, pull out that capital, and move on to the next trade. Keep it running.
Because that was one of the things I kind of picked up on, is like, you're not playing with high leverage in the beginning. You use it to get your capital out once it's really moving in your favor.
Yes and no. Sometimes I am using high leverage, but I'm never using high leverage in like a risky way. Like, I won't be using high leverage in like, I'll be doing full port account at 100x leverage. I may be doing 25 or 30x leverage at a reasonable amount and what I would normally risk in a trade. And depends on the setup. And like, when Bitcoin hit 89K, I'd be more comfortable with higher leverage, because that's an area that I'd really be looking to reverse from. And if I take a stop on that, I don't care. I think a lot of people are scared to take stop losses. And to me, I don't get it, because, yeah, you get stopped out, you move on to the next trade. You're not going to win every trade. But like, if you're winning enough trades, taking stop losses shouldn't matter to you at the end of the day. If you're not making money, sure, even those stop losses are going to hurt. But, if your trades are going well and you're getting a lot of good trades and setups, and eating a stop loss and moving on to the next one, or getting back in when it does what you want it to do, you can't be emotional about that, right?
So how do you typically do the stop losses on these setups as well? Do you typically draw that on your pivots, your levels, or is it like, hey, I want to move this, I'm only willing to push it this far into the cyan bands? Or
no, so typically, like, if I had these boxes here, like I can use this for an example for a short, but like, if I were to, I would usually let the move play out and either enter when it goes below the box. But for me, typically I'd see this wick up, reject right at the top of this box where I want it to. I'd get in around here. My stop would be somewhere above these liquidations, or somewhere around here,
and do you do the
like,
stops partial, or that's it, all out?
It depends on the position. So like right now, I'm not looking at a big short. When I was at 107, 108, I was, because that was a big level I was watching, and I had a good feeling it was going to reverse from there. So that would be an area that I might not even, like, I'd have a stop, but if I'm on the charts, it would be a manual stop in my head, where I wouldn't have an actual stop loss in the books, but I'd be watching it. I wouldn't be, sleeping or whatever with no stop loss. But, if it's something where I'm looking to swing a position, I'll be looking to build higher. And if it, if we're breaking out or losing a level on the support side, then it'd be something I'd cut the trade and move on to the next one, or eat the stop loss. But it really all depends on the setup. Like, a lot of these setups that I'd be looking at now are more on the scalping day trade kind of side of things, not on the swing side. When I'm looking for a short, it may be soon, but right now I'm just scalping mostly. They could turn into swings. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like the way I trade, I'm never like, this is just a scalp, I'm in and out. If price moves fast in one direction, I'll hold that trade if it's starting to break through levels that I like. There's no reason to just say, okay, this is the level I'm getting out of. I'm going to take all my profits. I'll take partials, and then I'll let the rest run. Set my stop loss at break even or whatever level I like, and go from there.
No, thank you for that. Because
Yeah.
it's very complicated. I've been trying to think of how to walk through this interview because it's like I know Pixa from a few years of chatting and a bunch of DMs, and like a lot of people are gonna have a hard time watch or understanding this. But that's why we'll post this on YouTube and you guys can review it, and I'll try to clip up these certain things.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, too, the main thing is like figure out what works for you as far as your trading style, because not everybody wants to trade with leverage and like scalp all the time or like do big trades. Some people just like to buy spot and hold and just look for good levels on that. It just really depends on your style, right? At the end of the day, some people just don't touch leverage, which makes a lot of sense too. For me, it works because I'm able to do it, but for other people, it just might not, right?
Yeah, it's not something I like. It brings out I don't trade the same as I'm so calm knife catching and spot, but leverage just changes how I trade. But you're one of the lower time frame DJs, so I really wanted to highlight that, and thanks for explaining a bunch of this. And
yeah, and for most people, this is not financial advice. Don't do what I do, 100%. But like if you're into leverage, just be cautious, because I see people get blown up by leverage every day. But if you do it right, it's fine. It's just you got to know what you're doing, and you also got to learn what not to do. And I think most people have learned their lesson. They get liquidation emails or whatever, blow their accounts. That's stuff that you figure out at the beginning, and hopefully you don't keep doing it, or maybe you just don't trade leverage at that point.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I'll back up to is like use what works for you, and it's like clearly this is not a trading setup you see for many people, let alone even seeing someone trading rainbow trends versus like I had to go build what worked for me, and then I see people evolve it into this where I'm preaching H4 no leverage, and then you guys are killing it with low time frame multi panels. Like, do what you can that works for you, and like learn what works for you that you can like implement into your own style. Because it's like, as much as you want to be like Pixa or TraderBane, you can't be exactly like them, but you can definitely learn from these type of streams and get little pieces of it that will add to your P&L, add to your profitability, and just kind of take the pieces and grab them and add them to your thing. Because like I never noticed well print clusters. Pixa like started DMing me. He's like, hey, have you noticed when these whale prints start tagging in a row, price tends to launch a few hours later? And then I went back and back tested it in the bots, and I was like, hey, there's actual signal there, and we ended up adding it to the codes. So we try to add as much as we can to make people profitable, because it's layer in what helps you, and then you can be like the best you that you can be,
XRP.
XRP is really easy for me to trade because I'm so willing to get rid of it.
I mean, you just look at these clusters here, right, on the lower time frames. Just boom. Came back, nice level actually on this. This was my long around here actually on XRP. I still got one running from lower, but this was my more recent one when Bitcoin was hitting. So that's what I'm talking about. When Bitcoin's hitting this level, Tether's hitting this level, I'll be looking at the best alt setups. And I already knew like XRP was strong. It sold off with Bitcoin. This was a level I was watching. As soon as that Bitcoin bounced, went straight into XRP, and I've been holding it since, started taking off profits. But and then when it starts breaking out of here, you see these clusters. I mean, that's just strength right there. I mean, whoever's shorting that, I don't know what to tell you, but
so you're saying
you learned the lesson.
Ripple's gonna flip Ethereum?
If it does, I think Vitalik should step aside. Just call it a day.
I'm gonna check it right now. What is the
they
market
had their
cap?
chance. I think a day or two ago, XRP had to 2x to flip the market cap. I'm not 100% sure. I just saw somebody post that, but
I'm gonna check it right now. Yeah, the website's market cap of. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit it up in the chat.
Yeah, hit
And,
up some questions. I'll be back in like 1.5 minutes. I just gotta do something real quick, but I'll answer whatever questions. I'll be right back.
Cool. We'll take a quick little break. I'll keep chatting though. If you guys can, the algos go a long way. So if you guys could subscribe on YouTube, that's where we're doing the stream. And then we also have the Twitter live as well, which you guys can retweet or hit a like on. Yeah, XRP is going to be 705. So basically it's 2.1x, and then we could actually flip Ethereum, which I hope to God doesn't happen. But here we are. What's up, Fletch? Yeah, he's one of the guys that like is a degen in a really good way, and this is why I really wanted to have him on stream, because Pixa can talk leverage in way better sense than I can with like the rainbow stuff on low time frames, because like I really like the H4. Like this is my chart on H4, and this is how I keep it simple. This is how I read, and like this is how I caught that long reversal watching just this real simple chart compared to what he does. But stop Nexus. And then we got the one well print here that flashed that liquidity, knocked everybody's stops out, and then we've pumped, and now we've got this chart doesn't have it, but we have the inauguration on 20th. And that's really what I'm really still waiting to see what the dust is going to do when the inauguration happens. I'm super bullish on the regime change, but I'm still of the opinion it's going to. I really think the Fed's going to pump the brakes on a lot of stuff as far as liquidity injections into the market. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to be really curious if it's a sell the news event on Bitcoin. Because it might pop, and we need to be careful of that. I'm walking through my chart right now, just like how I looked at the H4. We both attacked the same area, Pixa, but it was in very different means, but still using rainbows. And then all I know is if we hit all-time high on Monday, I really want to keep it under. I want to keep price out of the reversion bands personally. I don't want to form a top, but I'll be back to your screen now.
I'll gladly play those reversion bands though. So if it happens, it happens. Ideally, we grind up, but it's going to be an interesting week next week. I'll say that. We'll see what happens.
I think, honestly, I really want to see 2 months worth of 2 months of his first term or his second term to go, and then see what happens. Because whales are just going to manipulate and chop and play with news until like the dust is settled and they understand the macro environment, and then they'll risk on. And right now, I think there's a lot of questions to what's going to happen in like February.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if there's a lot of bullish news with Trump, but that's more stuff for them to play with, right? There's definitely going to be. I don't think the U.S. selling is going to be a thing anymore, unless they're selling this weekend. I doubt it.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have to worry about that for the time being. I don't think Trump comes in and starts selling. I don't see that happening.
No. But yeah. I mean, so this leads me to another question. Do you watch the S&P 500 at all for crypto?
Yeah, I'll track indices through the group. He does live streams as well. He trades mostly indices as well as crypto. So he'll track them. I'll track them during the day. I'll have a chart open because they definitely directly correlate, especially in New York. After open and midday, you'll see a lot. Like it'll track indices. If indices are selling off or indices are popping off, crypto will definitely correlate with that. So you definitely have to pay attention to that kind of stuff, and you have to pay attention to news to a certain extent. But you got to be careful about, like, they'll trick people with news. They'll use it to get people to long or short, and then they'll reverse price to liquidate them. Because all this bad news that comes out, you often see price will drive down a little bit. They'll bait people in, and then they'll reverse it the other way and liquidate them because they do it with speed. I mean, people aren't always watching the charts, and a lot of these guys, they go high leverage, and they log off for a few hours, they come back, and they're heavily underwater or liquidated, right? Because they move with speed. That's how they get people. They get their positions in, they leave people on the sidelines, and they liquidate other people that are trading the wrong direction.
a lot of people also don't realize how much of trading of the whales is automated, and
Yeah.
they're literally their positions are within seconds, like not like 30 seconds, like within 5 seconds of the news hitting. Their positions have already moved in that direction.
Yeah, and also like how much insider information there is, and like a lot of these
Oh yeah,
coin releases or news releases, they already know before, so they're already positioned. And then as soon as that volatility pops off, everything's all automated bots, algorithms, especially for the market makers and bigger whales. So their positions are already just set up to do what they need to do, right? Price gets pushed, and they're either selling into it or they're buying into it, depending on what the direction is. But you see, I mean, a lot of this stuff is algos and why this stuff works, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the key things of like me figuring out like rainbow theory. Like back in like 2017, I would just watch algos fight in the order books over and over and over and over and over, and it's like, okay, this is weaponized like nerds, like very high level, fighting each other with very large amounts of money. Fletch just asked, do you do any tuning specifically like on any of the indicators? I know we touched briefly on the liquidations tool. I was curious if there's any of them that you are pretty consistent with adjusting.
The colors I have dialed in a bit. Not a lot, but one sec here. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Cover all my things here. Yeah, so basically these are my settings for the lower time frames, and then my higher time frames will be slightly different. I'm happy to hop in the Discord after, and I can kind of pull these up again. But yeah, basically I have adjusted a few things. You would know better because it's been a while since I made
Those are all
adjustments to
default
it.
except the manual.
Yeah, so just this stuff here. I don't think I touched any of the other stuff. So yeah, just that, and then on the higher time frame, I'm slightly different. But honestly, it's just everything works, and the colors are what I need them to do. Like somebody else, like I was showing PopCat before, like for somebody else, those colors might be too hot. For me, it's exactly how I'm dialed in on these coins. Yeah, let me pull up PopCat again. Let me see if this is. Can you see PopCat now? I don't know why it does that. You can't see it on your screen, eh?
Mm-mm.
Interesting. Because it's.
Yeah, it's part of Discord. If we do another one of these, I'll do it on Zoom.
Okay, I'll pull up.
We can pull it up in the round table later. Oh, there you go. I can see that. I hope this thing's bottomed. Man, you are bogging down TradingView right now. You're muted if you're trying to talk.
There's nothing to talk about while we're bogged down here. I'm just waiting for it to load.
We could talk about what
When Coinbase lists PopCat,
and
Brian,
also
get on that. That'd be great. Yeah, so basically, like for me, you see where this turned pink here, and you get that nice color rotation there. Like for me, this is dialed in perfect to how I trade this coin. Now, for some people, they might think that's too hot, but like this is where I would want this to be hot. Same thing here as we're coming up to here, right? So I have my settings where like you basically have to know your charts and know the coins you trade, and just kind of see how where you would trade a certain level, how that coin's reacting as far as colors. At least that's the way I see it on my end. Because not all alts will look like this and be this hot, but PopCat is, because it's had a lot of, you can see the volume here, right? It's been picking up. So I just have dialed in what works for me. It might not work for somebody else. It might not work on the time frame they trade on, but it works for me. So
I said with everybody is you can always reset the settings and make them back to default, but just sit there and play with your mouse wheel and adjust the tunings, make them way too hot and then make them way too cold, and figure out what visualization of the signal works for your eyes, because these are a little hot for my eyes, but I'm used to seeing what you do with them, and it makes sense because you're looking for the specific rotation at the very extreme end of the colors.
Yeah, like here on Bitcoin, right? So like this might be hot for you, but also you see where it's getting hot there. That's exactly where I need to see that before it reverses, right? But you wouldn't see that otherwise if you weren't dialed in on the how the levels are for me. But I'm trading on low time frames, right? So for me, I need to see this get hot at those levels that I'm looking for. And it's not because I have it over cranked. It's just those are the levels where you start to see that volume pick up quickly. And same here with the purples. You'll very rarely ever see Bitcoin go to pink with the levels how I have them. When they go to pink, then I'm like, okay, I gotta look at this a little closer. But usually you'll see purples in these kind of zones here. But yeah, I mean, works for me. Like I said, for you it might be hot, but also you're not trading on 15-minute charts. So
we're very, very polar opposites, even when it comes down to like what we fish for.
Yeah,
but it's good vibes.
Right.
It's good vibes.
Well,
it's always
and
good.
That goes back to what I was saying before. Find what works for you, get your edge, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Like no egos in this game, no emotions. You just gotta figure out what works for you and dial in on that. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing at the end of the day, right?
Oh yeah, there's so many people that have tried to tell me like this stuff's wrong or doesn't work, and I'm like, you're arguing with a rainbow cow who trades rainbow colored tools. Like,
yeah,
like
you trade rainbows.
You want to argue more, it's fine, but like I don't care. It works for me, and if it works for you, that's great. But you're one of the more of like the hybrid traders, because like Malifestro was one of the first ones that I really called like a hybrid trader, and because he's real deep into a bunch of different stuff. And then you came out with this with the true algo integration with like rainbow trends, and like consistently hung around and killed with it. And I just try to sell people like nothing out there is like turnkey, just gonna make you killer, but you can layer stuff to make you better. But at the end of the day, you're still your worst enemy. Like there's not a tool that's gonna tell you exactly buy here, sell here every time and have 100% accuracy. Even if it did exist, you couldn't afford it. That type of thing would be hundreds of thousands of dollars a month.
And even if it did exist, people still would fuck up because emotions get in their way, and they're scared to. This is the thing. Like a lot of people are scared to take trades for some reason.
Yeah.
They'll lose a couple trades and they'll be scared to take a trade. But like most of the time, when you're scared to take a trade in a direction, that's the time you should be taking the trade in that direction. Like if you're scared to take a long when everything's flushing, that's probably when you should be looking along. Same thing, if things are blowing out and getting super hot and just pumping like crazy, most people are scared to short that. But if you're looking for a short and it's at the right level, that's exactly when you gotta not be scared.
Yeah, like a lot of this originally was trying to code into tooling to make me break bad habits, because I was a bad trader and I was making like bad emotional decisions. I was like essentially buying pinks and selling whites, and it was the opposite. And I was like, I had to teach myself how to knife catch and figure out how to read the whales. And it's like you said, you just got to figure out what works for you. But it's cool to see what you've done with this for so long, and I appreciate all the input you've given, because there's a lot of tools in 2023 that we developed or at least added based on a lot of your feedback on this lower time frame, like degen stuff, which is really cool.
I appreciate you making them, because they've been great for me.
Because every time someone asks me, like I've been asked a ton of stuff. People are like, hey, have you ever considered this? And 99% of the time I just email or I'll message the person back like, that sounds cool. I don't know if it's possible, but let me go play with it. And normally I can get a demo running of an idea in probably 48 hours, and then I'll shoot it back to the person who gives me the idea. And I'm like, hey, go play with that and give me some feedback. Because the well print clusters was a big one. I never even noticed it. He mentioned it, and then I went back and I turned the base code of the main indicator into back into a bot, and I told it to look for well prints and like back test study like automated trading solely based on the well prints, and it had signal. I was like, okay, this is a real signal. It's not something that just looks cool. It back tests. And then we ended up, it was a royal pain, but we got it added to the main indicator. And then we're going to be doing reversion band alerts pretty soon too, because Pixa, if you guys can't tell, at the top right it says 99 plus alerts missed, not acknowledged. So he tends to automate a lot of these signals.
Yeah, the reversion bands are a big one. I mean, that was like one day I just messaged him like, hey, have you seen what these reversion bands do? You're like, yeah, I wrote the code, but that was a funny one because I was seeing it on all these alts blowing out, and I'm like, hey, these reversion bands are really good.
Oh yeah, they're stupid. Like
Like you see
those
Peanut
originally
or Mog
spawned
here.
off me studying crypto paradigm, and then I integrated some of the stuff I learned from him into this indicator. It ended up being like one of the best tools. And then later I added like the machine learning. And then we started noticing people in the Discord and like actually killing with nailing tops on these. Cause I tell people like, I'm not like I'm obviously biased. I'm obviously heavily invested in rainbow trends, but like the signal's there in the pinks and cyans. Like it's a real signal, and it's if you get to that level, it is a stupid high probability, probably over 80-90%, that price is about to reverse or something's breaking on a lower cap. Like there's a big news event or something, but like
Yeah,
you won't
this
see
was
majors hold that cyan band.
this was another short that I took on Mog, and I got to these bands, and you can see, whew, it did bleed out. But it's one of those things, you start seeing it just absolutely rip. When you get up to this level, it's like, yeah, it can go a little higher. These reversion bands can pump out, but like at a certain point, it's got to start selling.
Do you use the
Like
HMA
whales
for
aren't.
that as well?
Yeah, I do. I do. But like, you could definitely wait to short. Like I think I short around here because I'll iceberg in if it keeps popping up at lower leverage. But it's you definitely could wait till it starts to flip back below the HMA, and even like this could be your, you could be watching it from here on the cyans, and then when you come back here, often you'll see them start to bounce between green bands here. I think I pointed it out once to you before. You'll often see it like start to hit these bands and just keep pushing down, and then like once it loses that, you'll start to see it kind of chop around and start to really go down. But your entry could be here on these bands. I mean, I think I shorted up here. I gotta check my position, but it's
I
definitely
forgot what low
around the
cap
40s.
it was, but you were longing the top of the green bands because it was being support. I'm like, that's not what
Render.
it's meant to do.
It was
That's-
render.
I was like, that's not what it's meant to do, but I'm happy it's working for you.
Yeah, it was on render because I remember I was just watching it hold the bottom of the band, and it just kept popping up to here and going back down. So but I would have had my true algo levels on there as well. So I'd be looking at like that at the same time, to kind of see where support is. But like, yeah, it was working on, if render bounced back like this for a while, but eventually it'll break down. Depending on the coin, it'll break
I
down.
remember
Once it does,
vividly-
it starts to.
I remember vividly when you sent that to me because my mind just started grinding gears. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, did he just invert the chart? And I was trying to figure out what you were doing. And they're like, oh no, you're really using the resistance as support and then playing it back into the cyan. Yeah. I use the
What is
HMAs
these?
a lot too. That if you guys don't know, that is something that pioneered by Blake that we added to it, and it really
Yeah, shout out
helps
to
with
Blake.
the BARTs.
Another one. Let me pull this one up real
It
quick.
moves.
That was wild.
HMA moves so weird, but it typically karate chops those hairlines
Let me see if this is.
as well as the
This is
bottoms into the
wild
red
coin.
bands.
I don't know where this coin came from. I traded this the other day.
The Korea bot pulls that one up a lot, but I don't know what it is.
It's like some social coin, like a Web3 kind of social thing. But anyways, this thing popped up on my alerts one day, and I'm like, what the hell is this thing? I don't know if you saw this. This is wild.
I did, and I was like, I don't. I thought it was like maybe a link derivative that was like in Korea, and I'm like, I don't have time to look at this, and I don't even
So
have
like,
access to
I wouldn't
it.
I wouldn't suggest ever trading these coins, but like, I ended up just like scaling in at low leverage. Not a big trade, not a large margin, but like, I started scaling in around here because I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. And like, I'm also not going to get liquidated on this, on low leverage. So I just started scaling some in
And that's
around
a-
here.
And that's
It's
a
just-
perfect. That's a perfect screenshot of showing you guys how the machine learning works, because it's like that cyan
Blow-
band is
blowing
getting
that up.
violated, and that algo is waking up trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, so it went down like 50% from that ridiculousness. And I still to this day I barely know what this coin is. I just saw it popping up in my alerts, and I just went and looked at it, and I'm like, this is wild. Like, this one candle is just some whale. I mean, probably low market cap. Some whale just literally destroyed this chart, just sold into it. I don't even know if there was enough to sell into, but hey, whatever. That's probably
And that's
why I did
another
this.
thing that people need to figure out is like when you also adjust colors for like lower time frames, you also need to look at like market caps. Like
Yeah.
top 500 coins move nothing like top 10 coins. You typically
like
won't
a coin
see
like this. I don't even know if it's top 5. I don't even know. I'd have to look it up on CoinMarketCap. But
and it just that's just the nature of the beast because whales can move the smaller assets much more violently. You're not going to see Bitcoin do pinks and whites like within the same week.
no, and you're also not going to see it blow out a cyan like that.
No.
Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But also, I don't suggest trading coins like this. I just do it because it's fun and I can, but
Yeah.
I'd stay away from those typically.
So what do you think macro-wise? Where are we going into 2025? Or do you think this party never stops?
Oh, it's going to stop. I don't like to throw out numbers as far as like who knows how high Bitcoin can go. If the US starts actually buying reserves and other countries start FOMOing in, I mean, who knows, right? But like, I personally am looking at 125, 130 to start looking at scaling out temporarily, but who knows? It could go up to 200. I honestly don't know.
So do you think
I don't want to say, oh, it's gonna top out at 150, 120. I'll trade all the levels in between, and I'll see it when it's gonna reverse. But I don't know macro wise where we're going.
Do you think it's do you think the strategic reserves are a bigger deal than the ETFs?
Yes, depending on how much they're depending on how much they're planning on buying, because if they're planning on buying and holding long term, they're not selling. The ETFs can sell at any time. Those are just people buying coins, right? If they actually are using it as a strategic reserve, not only that, but it also gives confidence to people, normies buying, right? They're like, if the U.S. government is buying and holding, I feel safe buying and holding, like gold, It's backed by something. There's countries holding onto it that aren't going to sell into people, hopefully, when Trump just one day decides to sell everything and dump on retail. But like, that's the thing, it gives people confidence, and it's also like,
it was a good 4-year run. We're out.
yeah, just before he's out of office, just dump it all. That'd be
executive
amazing.
order. Get rid of the stockpiles.
I mean, he's gonna make a lot of money off crypto. I hate to say it, but
There's
maybe
a
not
lot
him directly, but
There's a lot of people that are negative on it, and I was like, you guys got to realize, like, Trump's team is making on-chain trades right now.
yeah,
Like, they're not just buying on Coinbase. They're on-chain.
Their on-trade trades have been good. Like, ENA was one that I got into. XRP, like, a lot of that is because of Trump pumps. Like, a lot of
He's in Hedera too.
Hedera, yeah, that's been a good one.
Aave.
Yeah, Aave was a weird one. I saw that. I was like, okay.
I didn't see that.
They've been buying ETH too, even though ETH hasn't really been doing all that much. But
I think that's his biggest asset right now is Ethereum.
I mean, Ethereum. Nobody hate me for saying this, but Ethereum is just not a good coin. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but like, it's a great coin. I love trading it. Don't get me wrong.
I'll tell you this: it's
But
not
like,
at all-time
it's just not a
high.
great coin. It is not, and nor does it look like it's that could change in a second. Whales start hitting it, but like, it doesn't look like it's going to all-time high anytime soon. That could change. Like I said, whales can just turn around and start hitting it, and it's going to go quick. People will start piling in, but there's a lot more attractive coins to me to trade than Ethereum right now.
Yeah. It's this year is going to be wild. Who knows? Like, it's going to get interesting, and they're already talking about pulling back regulations, and they're also talking about potentially tax breaks for American-built coins, and I'm like, hold up, this could get stupid. Like, I've already got my like macro type price targets, looking at like what the cycles can do in regards to like Mayer multiple and all that type of stuff, but I'm like, ETFs plus degen plus options and strategic reserve, maybe I'm low.
Well, I mean, yeah, the strategic reserve is going to be interesting,
especially if it turns into like a space race where it's like, Russia wants to start stacking in China, and like they're trying to see who can stack the most, like then it could get real stupid real fast.
Yeah, and I mean, when these countries start competing, like there is a finite amount of Bitcoin. When countries start competing for it, it's gonna get crazy. Plus, you got ETFs. They're all trying to buy. People want to sell them their coins by all means, but like I'm not saying we're going to 300, 400K. I'm just saying it's gonna get interesting.
Yeah. What's saying is the possibilities of ridiculous targets are the frame rails for that are being laid out in front of us right now. Like it's hesitant to be bullish, but it's one of those things where it's like I can't say 589 Ripple is impossible like I can say some of these other things that are lining up right now. Which is it's a nice place to be.
Could say it's close to impossible.
Well, I'm saying like I can confidently tell you like Ripple is impossible to go 589. Us talking about like
if it goes to 589, I have an entry at $1, and I'll be very happy. I just don't see how it's possible.
There's not
if
enough...
somebody on TikTok wants to explain it to me, by all means, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear it.
I think I spent 20 minutes on a stream once. So it's like you could have every single piece of gold, every single piece of silver, every Apple stock, every Tesla stock, every Microsoft stock. You still can't push the price that high. The market cap's like in the not the United States, like this planet. There's not enough money in this planet
I don't know enough about the coin, but it's not a finite amount of coins.
No, it is. It is.
Oh,
yeah.
it is. Okay, what's the amount?
Let me pull it up real quick. That's the thing. It's a ton. Circulating supply is 57 billion, and the max supply is 100 billion. So Bitcoin's 21 million coins. This is 100 billion coins. So 100 billion times 589, it gets to numbers that just aren't even possible. Like it's about like ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 10K. Let's go.
We'll see. With that being said, what's if we get to 130 and you start scaling out, which boats are you looking at?
I'll bring you with me. Take a look.
We'll go shopping.
Yeah, we'll do some fishing, which is what this stream was really about.
It really was. I was prepared to go into looking at catamarans, monohulls, whatever. I really want a. It's the 27XS. Who makes the Cape Horn? I like the Cape Horns. A good Cape Horn, center console, dual Suzuki's, and a nice surfboard, and I'll be happy.
I was looking at a boat the other day, not to buy, just I was looking at it. Its center console had a center console, like it was in like the armrest. It was like a mini center console, and it was just like crazy. People are like, "Why do you need that?" And it's like, well, so you don't have to stand up, apparently. But
I've been in a 35-foot Scarab that was built like that. It was so you could lock into a chair for rough seas and control without having to lean forward because you're going too fast and violently. And I'm like, this boat's kind of cool.
No, I mean, why wouldn't you want that at the end of the day? If you can afford it and like you can have it, you don't have to leave your seat. And like you said, in choppy waters,
Yeah.
Why not? So what is your target for PopCat?
My target for PopCat is Coinbase listing, and I have a martingale in place that will hopefully get flash wicked, and then from there I'll rebuy back in at a 40% discount. Let me see what the market cap is on it. I really thought like everything, the stars were aligning. Coinbase was listing all of the meme tokens that Kraken had, and I was like, PopCat's next. There's no IP. It makes sense. It's only a top 138 coin. It's nowhere near Peanut.
Why? What's Peanut?
Peanut's up there.
Really?
Yeah, Peanut got real high real fast. Peanut the squirrel. No, Peanut's 137. It pulled back. Peanut's 137, but it was in the top 100 for a bit. I mean, that's the thing where like I have to explain to normies like, yeah, Trump's really really into crypto, but you need to hear about Fartcoin and Peanut the squirrel. They're really big deals right now.
Yeah.
Major
I wouldn't even
liquidity.
try to explain to people. Yeah. So there's this coin called Peanut based on a dead squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
Elon tweeted about it, and it went up huge in market cap.
He has a hat.
People were tired.
Hats are a big thing in crypto on chain. It's subtle, but the experts know.
Well, Popcat's doing something. It's not. Looking at Popcat, the reason I thought a listing was coming. Often you'll see these coins get beat down going into a listing, especially on Coinbase, and like this was kind of the area. You get your nice bands going here and the white candles. This is the area I would like them to do the listing off of, somewhere around here. I don't know. Maybe it comes next week. Trump inauguration day would be nice. We'll see. But this is kind of the area, like you'll often see them just sell off heavily, going just a few days or a week before a listing. The same thing happened with Peanut. And that's when I got in it, because it was still low enough that it made sense to get in. Let me see if I still have it up here.
No, watch that be the news event. Coinbase announced in honor of the presidential inauguration, we're listing Popcat.
There's Peanut. Good old Peanut. Let me see here.
I think that was a pump fun one too, wasn't it?
Peanut? I'm not sure. I actually missed generational wealth on this because I wasn't on Twitter that day when Elon wrote about it, and it pumped heavily. But yeah, basically, so the listing came, where are we at here? 40 something. Man, this thing really got beat down, huh?
Yeah, it started printing orange, new
here.
orange reversion bands, and I was like, oh.
So the listing came around here. I think I got in around 48, but it got beat down pretty heavily, and then Coinbase decided to list it. But you'll see that often. Even for smaller listings, you'll see them just get sold off, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if that's a strategy on Coinbase's part, but you'll see it getting beat down, and then all of a sudden Coinbase will.
The opposite was when they had FTX listings. You could watch Alameda pump a coin on chain, like in a channel walk, like violently, and then all of a sudden, 2 days later, it would get listed on FTX and start just getting destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, I always hate when that happens, when they get listed on an exchange like Binance or FTX before, when it just absolutely gets killed.
Oh yeah,
sold off to nothing.
It's like, oh, Binance added shorting capabilities. It's bullish.
Craziest pump in the last year was, do you remember the TRB pump?
TRB, no.
It went up to $500. I think let me see. Probably the craziest pump and dump. I was in on, I shorted that. I think I got in at like 4 something. And I actually felt sick after that. I'll show you where this thing happened.
I remember there's also a lot of insider. Holy crap.
It was disgusting. And it just like.
How do you not get liquidated on a short like that, though? How do you manage a wick blowing the cyan bands out that violently?
I mean, low leverage. It's easy. I didn't short here. Sorry, let me go back to where the actual thing was. I shorted in, the 400s, right? Like I waited till it wicked out. And then I don't even know where this thing's so far back. 1 sec. But I just remember, like, you look at these things and you're like, well, it's at 500. Sure, it can go higher, but like it had no business being at 500 in the first place. Yeah. That was, I forget the market makers on that, but that was definitely one of those things that they do. But when you get in this, when that wick starts happening, I'd probably start shorting around here. I'd build into a short, and I'd have my stop loss up here. It goes up, I lose some money, whatever. But it goes down. I mean, look how much it went down, right? So I'm not suggesting that anybody ever trades these coins. I've just become accustomed to doing it and not being worried about getting stopped out. But you're low leverage on this. You get in around here, which is ridiculous to begin with. But you put your stop above this wick. You take a stop, it hurts. But at the end of the day, you didn't blow your account and you're fine.
Yeah.
But you get a win on this. I mean, that's a big drop. And it happened fast too. This is, if I go with daily candle, it happened. I think it went from 400 to like 100 and something in the matter of the same day. So, fun times. But that was the one that I remembered of like being the most ridiculous pump and dump on a bigger asset that I've seen in a while. I mean, it happens on chain all the time, but like this was an asset on Binance and all the other CXs, and it's just wild to see that for no reason too. There was really nothing that happened that should have pumped that much.
Yeah, I imagine they have a meeting the next week with their market makers and Binance and chew them out.
Yeah, maybe, or yeah,
Something gets out of whack.
Nothing. I mean, a lot of people got hurt that day. I'll say that.
Yeah.
The people that were long too, like some of them made money, but some of them definitely didn't get a chance to scale out of that position because it happened so quickly. So that's why you gotta be on the ball on those things, or just don't trade them. That's really the way. But for me, I like the action. So.
Oh yeah. Well, man, it's coming up on 2 hours. Thanks again for coming on. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna try to bait you into maybe another stream, follow it up, and
500K.
For Ripple. But
I'll do a 420K stream.
420K stream and a face reveal. But
no face reveal.
Anyway, thanks for guys for coming out. We're gonna go hit up the round table, see if you'll hang out for a bit. I got to switch computers, but like I said, if you guys want to find out where our Discord is, it's always on the top of the website, up at the banner. And if you want to give any of these tools a shot, at least from the Rainbow Trend side, you can get your first month for $10. And shout out to Rualgo. We don't really talk with them.
Yeah,
but
definitely
shout out to them because I know they're
great indicator as well.
Great friends of Pixa's, and there's obviously something working here because this dude hadn't been doing this for a month. He's been in the Rainbow Trends Discord for a few years now, and you can definitely go check out him as well.
I'll say, hey, if you like either of these things, you want to ask me questions, by all means, I'm always happy to chat charts and trades and whatnot. So.
Yep. And if you guys want to see the replay of all this, it'll be on the YouTube channel, so make sure you guys go subscribe to YouTube. But with that being said, thanks again, Pixa, and we're going to be out, and we'll go hit up the Discord. I'll see you guys later.